Hi, welcome back. We are going to finish talking about different forms of navigation for React Native apps. In this video series, we just talked about stack navigation, and if you look at the top of this document or in the comments for the video, you will see a link to the template repository, which has the starter code for the 3 different apps I'm talking about in this series. So right now we're going to talk about tab navigation. So what does that look like? Well, here's an example. And if we look at this app right here, we can see that I have 3 different tabs at the bottom. I have one for index, family, and school. And as I click on the different options, I can see that the icon is colored differently. I can also see that a different page loads, and I can see that different text appears at the top in the header based on which page I am selecting. So how do we do this? Well, for starters, the first question is, why would I use tab navigation? Well, tab navigation is used when we're not having a defined linear workflow. So if we look at this app right here, I could easily see the need to go between home, family, and school. You might see something like this, especially I see this a lot in social media apps like Instagram or Facebook, where you would scroll between maybe your feed or your friends or your uploads or your posts. And in that case, it doesn't matter what order you go in. It really doesn't matter. You can go in any order that you want. So in terms of how this is set up, each tab is going to represent a different screen. And if we tap on a certain tab, this will take us right to that screen. We don't need any back button. We don't need any additional navigation. Another advantage of this is that state is preserved. So when you switch tabs back and forth, the previous state is still there, and you can, continue as you'd like. So a couple different visuals to help you with determining how to set up your screens. For starters, we're going to have this tabs folder. And if you look at this image right here, this shows it really nicely. So we have our overall app folder for the entire app itself. And then within there, we have our main app folder, which is right in the same line as with components or styles and all of those different options. And then within app, we will see this different structure. So the underscore layout.tsx file, this is going to hold what's called the root stack. And this is telling us what we want to go to. We might have an optional entry screen, which we will see in the 3rd video in this series, but this is not required. But if you want to use tab layout, you do need to have a tabs folder. And you'll notice that this folder is named with the word tabs in parentheses. And that is how React Native knows that you are in fact dealing with tab navigation. Everything that is inside this folder represents a screen that is a tab of your app. And then the underscore layout.tsx file within this folder tells you how the tab navigation is set up. You'll notice here this summary is talking about just the different, what these files are used for. So this right here, the main underscore layout tsx is your overall navigation. Again, index is if you have an entry screen, and then everything inside your tabs folder is telling you how this tabs layout is going to work. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at the overall code, and then we will come back to this last piece right here. So if we look at this overall code file, again, within this repository that I've linked, there are 3 different small apps. Right now, we're going to look at the basic tab navigation. So within this app folder, if we expand this, you're going to notice that there is a tabs folder. And then outside of the tabs folder, there is this underscore layout.tsx. And here I just have one singular tag for a slot. And what this does is it's going to load the first available screen. Now, if I were to have an index file within app, it would load index, but because I don't, it just goes straight to tabs. And then within tabs, it looks at the underscore layout file. Now, if we look at this file, you're going to notice a couple things. So for starters, I have the overall tabs tag. And what this does is this tells me how my tabs are going to be laid out. So we can see here that we have the tab bar active and inactive color, and that's where we have this teal and this gray down here, this darker gray defined. We also have the header style, and the background color of the header is this teal color. And we can see that the active tint color, this teal, is the same as this teal. And then we can see the this header tint color, and that is the text color of my header. So this dark gray color matches this dark gray color. And then the tab bar style, that's going to be telling me how to style this actual tab bar on the bottom. And that's why this background color is this lighter gray background. Then next, after that, I see these 3 different tabs.screen tags. And these 3 different tabs are representing, well, the 3 tabs that I have here. And this first part that says name, this is referring to the actual file name. So if we look back at the file folder, you will see within here I have family.tsx, index, and school.tsx. And that is why I see index, family, and school. And the order in which they show up down here on the tab bar is in order of how they are listed here. So if I were to move these around, then these would also move around. Now the header title that I see right here is showing me what I will see on this top, on the header. So even though my index file is called index, the header says home, and that is why I see home when I click on the index file. Now the tab bar, this is telling me what I should show depending upon whether or not I am focused or not. So if I am focused, meaning I've clicked on it, I am going to show the following icon, else I'm going to show the secondary icon. So we can see that each of these have a secondary icon, which is this outline one, so it's not filled in if it is not selected. And then the size and the color, this size of 24, that is the size that I'm using for this icon. So if I were to make it smaller or bigger, it would look differently on what I see here. And then each of these pages, these are just kind of like filler pages. They don't really have much in them. These are each of these. And I've noticed from different tutorials I've looked at, even though it's called family.tsx, it makes sense to call the actual function that I'm exporting family screen. Here I have home screen and here I have school screen. And that is because it helps describe what exactly it is referring to. All right, I hope that was helpful in helping you determine how to use a basic tab navigation.